Behind every jar of European honey, there is a beehive. And behind every beehive, there is a passionate beekeeper. There are just over 600,000 of them in Europe today. And this continent is the world's second biggest honey producer. Yet demand is so high that not enough is produced to cover the EU's needs. So is everything fine and dandy for European beekeepers? Well, not really. In recent years, beekeepers have had to deal with several threats. Some have received a great deal of media coverage, such as bee mortality in certain apiaries, the impact of climate change translating into droughts affecting the blooming period, floods destroying the fields, and fires ravaging forests. But in the short term, there is another major threat to our beehives that is less widely known: counterfeiting. And here's why it's a key problem. During the COVID period, beekeepers, like many other professions, experienced a boom in production costs. At the same time, the total production of honey in the EU has been decreasing to around 200,000 tonnes. In a normal market, these increases in production prices, coupled with a constant demand and low levels of production, should have led to an increase in the price of jars. Yet, no such thing happened. The reason? Imports. Over the 5 years prior to 2022, imports increased by 13% to a record level of 190,000 tonnes. These imports come mainly from 3 countries: China, Ukraine, and Argentina. In Europe, the average production price of bulk honey is around 3 to 4 euros on average, while imported honey from China in 2022 was at €1.50 per kilo. Such a price difference cannot be explained by more productivity or advanced beekeeping practices. The reality is much simpler. These imported honeys are often counterfeit and contain syrups that are blended with a honey base. Once mixed, it becomes very difficult to identify whether they have been adulterated, even with advanced controls. As the production price for sugar syrup is much lower than for real honey, an untenable competition for European producers has started. Grounds for suspicion had been strong for years, but it was only in March 2023 that the European Commission took up the issue and published a landmark study on the subject. Out of 320 samples collected by EU member state authorities, the Commission, with the current available technologies, concluded that 46% of all analysed products showed signs of adulteration. In other words, every second import of honey was fraudulent. A dismal statistic which shows how this phenomenon has spiraled when we consider that a mere 14% of samples collected in 2015 to 2017 were found to be fraudulent. To counteract misleading consumers, beekeepers are now putting pressure on the European Union to tighten up the rules on control and impose origin labelling with the percentage for each origin on the label. It's an essential starting point to put a stop to fraud. The European Commission has all the momentum it needs behind it to act now and revise the Honey Directive, and it is high time for action both at national and EU level. If nothing changes, Copa-Cogeca, the leading EU farming organisation, estimates that 5 million honeybee colonies could be lost across the EU, having severe consequences for pollination of our food crops. Under Farm to Fork, its flagship policy for agriculture, the EU is eager to propose different targets. This is why Copa-Cogeca would propose one new goal to the Commission: reducing counterfeiting in half by 2027, compared to figures in the analysis carried out in March 2023, with a view to having no adulterated honey present in the European market at all by 2030. If you support this target, if you want to show your support to European beekeepers, don't hesitate to share this video with the hashtag #HonestLabellingNow.